And welcome back. This is the next video in the brick breaker or breakout style game we are creating here in Construct 3 or Construct 2. And we are moving on to making some more code. I'm going to collapse all my groups and I'm going to make a group for this real quick. Add group, and I'm just going to call this debug. And this is all that goes in there. And I'm just going to move it up there. So now let's put in some of the winning condition. If we get rid of all the blocks, add an event. Let's go to System, Compare Variable down here, Compare Variable. And we want to know when that block total is equal to 0. That means no more blocks are left. Let's add an event. Go to Text. Let's select Winner. And we want to set Visible to Visible. We also want to go to Sprite, Ball, and let's make this disabled. And do the same thing for the paddle. So Sprite, paddle, enabled, disabled. So now we can add an action system. Let's wait. Wait for 3 seconds. Cool. And then we will set this visible text to invisible. Now this time, instead of going through this whole process, I'm going to copy this, and actually I'm just going to hold down Control, click and drag a copy down to the bottom. Then I can double click inside of it and change it to invisible. So now when the block total is 0, the last block has been destroyed, the ball will be disabled, the paddle will be disabled, there'll be no more input, they'll just freeze wherever they are. Winner will well, it won't flash, but it will come on screen, wait for 3 seconds, and then it'll disappear. And we are going to add an action system, set value of game over to true, which is 1. It means we won, and well, the game is over. That is our winning condition. Something I want to do, go to our text, find your winner text object, and go over to Effects, and add a new effect. And let's go down to Distortion and Pulse. Let's add that. And let's come over here to the properties and let's change some of this. The intensity, let's drop it down to about 20%. Lighting at 50, that's good. Speed at 10, that's good. Frequency, let's bump that up to about 80. And let's drop our center X and our center Y down to 10% each. Normal, that looks good. Let's go back into our event sheet, and I'm going to add a group. I'm just going to call this winning and drag that down into it. That looks good. And then let's add an event. Say system, compare. I want to compare a variable. I want to know that when game over is true. So when game over is 1, which is true, I'm going to add an action, go to System, Restart Layout. So what that's going to do, every time we set the game over condition to true, we're going to restart the layout and we're going to start back up here where we initialize everything, and it's just going to start over. So I'm going to add a group, and I'm going to call this Restart. Drag that down in there. And that should be it for the game over logic. So up here in game over, we also set game over to 1. So even if you lose, which is what happens here, it still makes this true. So we set the game over 1 if we hit the overlap the death sprite, and it'll restart the layout. But if we don't overlap the death sprite and we get rid of all the blocks, we still set the game over to 1, which restarts the layout. So that is most of the logic. We're going to test that out in just a second, but I want to do something else first. This is going to go in our debug. So let's open our debug group up, add an event, And let's go to our keyboard. And I want to say on key pressed. And I'm going to choose the Z key. You can choose any key you want. And this is for our testing purposes only. I'm going to add an action, sprite, ball, and I'm going to come down here to the bullets, and I'm going to set the angle of motion to what we had it set on the start out, which was random parentheses, random parentheses 220, 320. And what that's going to do is when we're trying to test if the ball is going to fall off and lose the game, or it's going at an angle that's not really helping us out at the moment, I can press the Z key and it will send the ball upwards in a random direction. I'll show you what that is. Let's play. I'm going to hit the space bar and we'll start playing. Everything looks good so far. And then I can hit the Z key and it goes up. I can hit it again and it keeps going up. Hit it again, and I can keep doing this so we can test out the winning logic. And maybe. There it is. And there's our winner. You can see the pulse making it wavy. That lasted for 3 seconds, and then it restarted the layout. And when it restarted the layout, it counted the blocks again, and it gave us our play button there, which, if you remember, I added a keyboard and a touch control. And we can go ahead and set that up too. So let's exit out of that. Let's go to start game. Now over here, the keyboard event where we press the spacebar to begin the game, I'm going to double click and go to meta, add a touch, and I'm going to say, so we're going to have to change something here. I'm going to just go ahead and say is touching object, and we will pick button. Okay, so I don't want this to be is touching. I want it to be a tap, but with the way it's set up right now, we don't have access to that. But I also don't want both of these to have to be true for this to happen. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to make this an OR block. So now it says either the space bar being pressed or we click on the play button, then this can happen. So either one of those, but not at the same time. So we added the OR. Now that we have OR, we can go back into this touch and we will have access to these now. And that is on tap object. And that'll be the button. So now we can just press the space bar or tap on the ready. So I've been doing the space bar thing up till now, but now I can take my mouse and I can click, and it starts the same way as pressing the space button. There we go. Let's see. I want to make sure is playing. We set it to 1, and let's see. Okay. Only when is playing is set to 0 can we press space or click on the play button. So we want that to stay like that because we won't set is playing back to 0 until we initialize, which will give us our play button back. So that is correct. I hope that makes sense. We just want to cover our tracks and make sure that we're accounting for each time we change one of these variables. I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to take this. I'm just going to move it off to the side. I don't need it when we play the actual game. And I believe all we have left is to add some audio, which we will do in the next video. Remember to save.